Hello, I'm Kevin Wenning. This is packing lists for your bike photography tour, cycling and photography tour, whichever you like. And I'm talking now about what you should bring for your photography gear. I'm not going to talk about everything else that you should pack. I've done another video. There's another video for just your bike gear, what you should bring there, what you shouldn't bring. I'm not going to talk about pack this hoodie, pack this pair of shorts. You're an adult, you know how to pack. We're talking about just your photography gear. The rules pretty much apply to travel photography gear that you should take with you as what applies if you're going out just randomly during the day taking photos. I'm not talking about if you're practicing something specific, like you're practicing wide angles or doing some architecture, or if you're doing macros. Of course, you're just probably going to take out one camera, one lens in those kind of scenarios. But if you're going out for the day, let's say, and you don't know what you're going to shoot, you're going to see where the day takes you. You want to have a range of things to cover you and take care of all of your situations. So let's start with exactly what you should take with you. When I started doing my travel photography, I often took more glass, more length than I needed to. And that's only useful in cases where you might be doing back-to-back assignments where one day you're doing street, the next day you might be doing some wildlife, or you might be doing some architecture, you might be doing some landscapes. You want to have the range of everything from wide angle up to really long lens for all of your needs. In our cases, on most of these trips, super zoom isn't necessary. We're not doing safaris. Definitely would love to get into those in the future, but right now I've got some friends to recommend you to if you want to do those type of wildlife safaris. For my purposes, and for the majority of our cycling and photography tours, we're doing street, we're doing architecture, landscape. If you're into macros or if you're into any kind of architecture, you can basically bring the same lenses. Of course, if you're into macros, you're going to think about, do I really need that specialty lens? And the primary consideration that you're thinking about is, what kind of photos do I want to capture? And then, do I want to pay any overweight fees on my baggage? If you're used to traveling, this is not new to you. You understand I can not always bring all of my lenses on every trip. I'm going to pack the glass that I need to just for this occasion. So here's what I bring and talk to you about why. So first off, my cameras. I bring two different bodies. Right now I'm mirrorless. I've got Sony's. I have an A6000. I have an A7R2, 3. I haven't upgraded to the 3 yet. So my A6000 is my backup body, but I love this thing. I haven't upgraded to the 6500 because I basically see no need to. It does a fantastic job, and the only reason that you're going to want the full frame really is if you are doing prints and you need the pixels to do larger prints. So cameras are a whole different discussion as far as what kind of camera you should buy, what kind of camera you should bring. But I generally bring those two bodies with me. And if you are wondering if we're doing any kind of photography on the bike, you absolutely do not need to bring something like this to fit all of your lenses in your camera. And this one fits my small tripod. That's actually why I got it, so I can do photography trips just by myself on my bike. But you definitely don't need something like this on our kind of adventures. What we're doing, and I've explained this in some other videos, but we are photographing in the morning and the evening, not usually on the same day as far as coordinated shoots, because usually by the time we spent that whole day either shooting in the morning or the evening, it makes for a long day. I want to give people personal time to book in their days, to relax, to back up their photos, to just enjoy being in a location, of course. We don't want to fill up every last minute with activity. So we will not be stopping in the middle of our rides to do any photography, meaning you don't need to take your big DSLR or your mirrorless, any of your extra lenses on the bike with you. It doesn't mean that we're not going to occasionally see something at the side of the road that you want to stop and take a photo of. If you do want to shoot when you're on your bike, bring your phone camera, bring a small pocket camera, and I'll have to do a post about different pocket cameras that are excellent. There are several that I can definitely recommend, but for our purposes, we are shooting in the morning or the evening, and we have dedicated photography hours. When you're on your bike, just enjoy being on your bike. Don't think about taking photos. Enjoy the scenery. That's why we're there. So bodies, and I use them for all different purposes. I'll often go out with both of my bodies at the same time. Both of my bodies, that sounded weird. Both of my camera bodies at the same time, just for the purpose of, maybe I want to have my 24-70 on or my 70-200, but then I want to keep my 55mm handy. Love this lens. It's a fun one to play with. And and I'll take both bodies out with just different lenses to have different ranges on them. Kind of depends where I'm shooting and what the scenario is. So the lenses that I take with me, I keep them in these little neoprene sleeves because sometimes I'll just throw them in a backpack like with my bike gear. I like to have them protected. I take a wide angle. I need to upgrade this one to 16 to 35. This is my Sony Mirrorless 55 prime, and love this thing. It's a lot of fun. 24 to 70 f2.8. That's a great lens. What I'm doing here is I'm covering my range. So I've got my wide angle and I've got my zoom, my mid-range zoom. So this is my wide angle for my landscapes, for any kind of architecture. If you do like to do some creative angles with your architecture, and then my standard walk-around zoom, which is good for everything, quite frankly. You're going to see a lot of professional photographers like to keep an 85 or a 90 prime in their bag just for portraiture. And if you are a portrait person, I'm not, but I travel with a lot of people who love to shoot portraits and who do it professionally. Keep an 85 to 90 prime in your bag for that purpose. So in that case, you might want to think about, do I trade off, something like my 55 or my 35 prime that I like for just kind of walk around street photos in order to, or do I want to take my 85 or 90 prime just for the portraits? So which one is more important to you? Or do you want to take both? And you're probably going to have a little bit heavier bag. You might have some expenses at the airport for your baggage fee. And then I always keep in my bag, unless I'm really weight constrained, I take a 70 to 200 as well. That I find covers the majority of my range from my wide angle up to my zoom range. There is no reason on our trips to bring a super zoom. You don't need anything above 300 millimeter. So if you've got an all-purpose lens, you're going to have something like a 24 to 200 or a 55 to 200, that kind of zoom range. That's going to cover all your needs. That's a great walk-around lens. And if you just come with one body and one of those lenses that covers the range, you're good. You don't need to bring all this extra glass. I like it because I like the flexibility of just being creative, of course, when I go out and shoot. So that's the cameras and lenses. Of course, don't forget to bring your memory cards. I keep them in 2 separate cases. I've got, basically just because if my bags get separated at the airport, you'll see I travel with a couple of different bags. So if my bags get separated, one of them gets lost, I always have extra memory cards with me, which is why I keep 2 cases. Plus these are waterproof. I've got a whole other video about the whole storage and backups thing, but essentially I check these to make sure they're waterproof because I've dropped my bags over the side of a boat on occasion. Pays to spend like 20 bucks on a nice case for your memory cards, trust me. Intervalometer, or a remote shutter release. Love this thing, and there's all sorts of different styles. They're out for all sorts of models. You can, there's a million of them on the market anymore. But if you want to do any kind of long exposure night photography, if you're doing, basically those are my cases. Long exposure and night photography. That's why you want your remote shutter release. Pro tip on this, of course your batteries, you're gonna have to keep in there. Rather than putting them in a separate baggie or something, I literally just flip the battery around when I travel so that I don't arrive at my location and my battery is drained. That sucks, it's happened to me. So just flip your batteries around, but keep them in the same place and it's not gonna drain them. Haha. Neat little trick. And then I don't travel with there's like a big hard case that comes with a lot of these remote shutter releases. I just put it in a little soft side bag, and this does the trick for me. I can stuff it into anything when it's in this little soft side. Camera strap, whatever your favorite thing is. I like small and light, so I've got these little things from Peak Design. That's what these little dongles are that are off the side of my camera. Just these little straps from Peak Design. Clip on the other side. I don't ride with these. You certainly could tighten them up and throw them over your shoulder, ride with them, but again, I don't like to keep my camera on my bike other than just a small something in my jersey pocket. But camera strap, don't forget it. You don't necessarily need it, but I have always found it handy. Love having one. Bring a camera strap. Next, we've got, this is another item I need to upgrade before my next trip. Simple ND filters. This is not the time to get into a whole philosophy on ND filters, but I like screw-on on the end of my lenses. I want to upgrade. My next set of ND filters is going to be slide-in. They go on the end of my lens. They are a little bigger. You're going to have to get something a little bit larger than this. But the main reason that I've been using these for my travel ND filters is they're small, packable, obviously, don't take up a lot of space. So ND filters, if you're not into creative photography, you don't like long exposures, I would still recommend get something, especially if you're going out shooting with other photographers. You're going to shoot with somebody who shows you just an amazing shot, and you look at their camera and you go, how did you do that? And you're going to realize you don't have the gear on you in order to do what they did, and they want to show you. They really want to share their secret, but you got to have the right tools. So ND filters come in very, very handy. What do I keep in my bag? I keep a 3-stop and a 10-stop for each of my lenses. Well, my primary lenses that I shoot creative with, which is my wide angle and my 24-70. And that's basically all I travel with as far as my ND filters. Okay, other must-haves, of course, batteries. Gotta have batteries, gotta have them. Especially if you're in a cold climate, which none of our tours were going to any place cold. If you're in a cold climate, batteries drain faster, you wanna keep them warm. I have probably way too many batteries. I don't need to travel with this many. Battery charger, you wanna be able to charge more than one battery at a time during your stops, because usually, especially as a travel photographer, you don't have the luxury of just plugging it in and letting it run and then plugging another one in. You want to charge as many batteries as possible all at once. Let's see, I do have in here, yeah, there we go. There's my extra. Capture clip. This is a nice to have, not a must have. But what this does is put it on your belt loop, and then there's a little clip that you put on the bottom of your camera. I always also have L brackets on all my cameras, but that's a whole other discussion. And the reason this is nice, especially on travel and street photography, I clip it in, it's on my belt loop. As soon as I want to grab a photo, boom, pull it right off. It's right there. I don't have to keep getting my bag, put my camera in, get it back out. These are really nice. Can't remember exactly how much these were. I want to say it's like $60 for the clip and the little shoe that goes on your cameras. These themselves are like $25. So if you got a clip and you want to put one of these clip shoes, can't remember what they call it, on all of your cameras, another 25 bucks for each of these. Well worth it, in my opinion, to grab something like this. Not a must-have, just nice to have. There are some luxuries that I really should pack these in my bag. This one for me is the simplest one to clean my sensor. If you're not into sensor cleaning and you don't like to do it yourself, don't even listen to me right now. But sensor cleaner, this is really simple. It's basically just a dabber that you can get the dust off of your sensor. It's not going to wet clean, so if you got a spot on there that just is persistent, this is not going to clean it, but it's called eyelid. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but this is a great one just for getting small spots of dust. It's a little sticky sponge. You just grab the dust off your sensor. That's all it does. If you don't want something like that to touch your sensor, get yourself a rocket blower. This is the bestest thing ever. Yes, I said bestest thing ever for cleaning your sensor. Just blow across. If you go to any local camera shop, this is the very first thing they're going to do to your sensor. They're going to try and blow the sensor off, get the dust off, and then they're going to wet clean it. So you don't have to have one of these. They make one too, Giotto's rocket blower. That's about half the size. It's a good travel size. I don't have that one out here for some reason. So covers all the must-haves. Now we're into the nice-to-haves. And what I didn't give you as a must-have actually is a way to back up your photos. Traveling with photography equipment, cameras, computers has changed a lot recently. Can't take them onto the plane. And if you want to go really light, Narbox makes a great product. I haven't actually picked one up yet. I tried one on my last trip that a friend had. I need to purchase one. Basically what Narbox does is it backs up your photos without you ever having to plug into a laptop. And if you don't have something like that, you want to take a laptop and a hard drive to back up your photos. So especially on our tours, we do a lot of small photo editing sessions. I'm not going to tell you that we do a whole day. Planning on doing some lodge tours where we ride out from the lodge, but we come back to the same place each night and we do a lot more intensive photo editing. But for the sake of our travel tours, on the cycling tours, laptop, hard drive to back everything up on, and if you have the ability to, bring something like 6, 8, 10 memory cards. Memory's getting cheap. Bring as many as you can, so you don't have to offload a card and then format it every day. You'll have cards for every day of the tour. That's a luxury, not something everybody's going to do, but if you can, bring enough cards so that you don't have to reformat it every night. You'll have a backup here, plus a backup on your travel hard drive that you bring with you. And if we have the chance, put it on your computer and then also back it up to the cloud, something like a Dropbox or Google Photos or Amazon Cloud or whatever you use for your cloud storage, so that you'll have 3 copies of the photos, because it happens. You lose your computer on the way home, you lose your memory cards on the way home, somebody steals your backpack. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you travel very much, you just want to have a backup of those photos. You spent all that time, all that money, all that effort to get those photos. You don't want to get home without them. Okay, moving on. Yeah, as far as, and I had this question just this morning, actually, a gal I talked to about our Morocco tour. She said, well, what kind of photo editing software should I have in order to participate in the photo editing sessions? Yes, have something. Whatever it is that came with your camera, if it's a free something like a GIMP or a iPhoto or photos on your laptop, or even something as terrible as the Google photo editing suite. I can't remember what it is now because I haven't used it in forever. Something basic, fine. Bring whatever you got. If you want, here's 3 suggestions for some good software that's inexpensive that you can get started with, and yeah, it's not going to keep costing you. You don't have to keep paying for it. ON1 has an excellent photo editing suite. They call it ON1 Photo Raw. Highly recommend it. It's got all of the tools you will ever need, and you manage your own files. There's not something like Lightroom that you have to learn in addition to it. Affinity Photo is another great one, plus it has an excellent mobile editing app, so you can put that on something like an iPad. So ON1, Affinity Photo, and I'm blanking on the other, Luminar is another great option from Skylum Software. Those 3 are in the 100 to 150 range as far as your initial outlay of cash, and those are good softwares to start learning some professional photo editing on. If you come with something that only does simple light, dark, sliders, shadows, highlights, colors, you're not going to be able to really delve into the photo editing, and you want to at least touch on that. I mean, we're not going to spend time on all of the last little photo editing sliders and custom, luminosity masks and color masking, and we just won't have time for all of that. But bring a basic photo editing software. If you are looking for something to purchase to really get involved in photo editing and have somebody help you with that, I recommend those 3. So Affinity Photo, ON1 Photo Raw, or Luminar from Skylum. Those are your 3 good starting options. ON1 Raw, I would recommend first, just because if you learn that and then you later want to upgrade to Photoshop, it's not going to be a huge leap. You're going to already have a lot of the skills and tool tips and same things in ON1 Photo Raw that are going to translate to Photoshop. Other things to bring with you, of course, all of your cables. This is a pencil bag I bought for $3 at Walmart. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just make sure you've got all of your charging cords for your camera, for your charger, for your laptop, of course, if you're going to bring that. Charging cords. Simple, basic. This one, of course, is for my laptop. I've got a little converter in here that I can plug in and work in the airport. This is not a must-have. This is something that I take because I do a lot of work while I'm sitting waiting in the airport, and I want to plug in all my stuff and charge. This has come in handy many, many times. Find yourself a tiny little, something that you can use as a power bank, if you will. The last thing I've got down here is baggies. Cheap and simple, super effective. Or you can go with something like this, a Sea Summit. And the reason that I recommend these is in extreme conditions where we might be out shooting in the rain, or you might be like in Morocco in the desert, And if a sandstorm comes along, you want to get your cameras in something like this to protect them. I mean, for a dollar, you're going to protect a multi-thousand-dollar piece of equipment. So I keep these Sea to Summit bags in my gear. They don't keep out sand. If you're going to Burning Man, take simple baggies. I mean, that'll do the job for you. So not a must-have. Again, something that's nice to have. These are Sea to Summit bags. I think $25 a piece for these, and they're waterproof. And then, of course, $2 for this, and it's waterproof. So your call. All right. And what didn't I talk about? That would be, and there's a lot of things I didn't talk about, but this is one of my personal things that I don't take with me is my flash. I see no reason to. When we are doing travel photography, we want to be inconspicuous. I've seen plenty of travel photographers that practice flash, and they do sort of a studio style out on the street. If you know your equipment, you can get the same type of photo without having to bring a flash with you. Flash adds weight, it adds bulk to your luggage, and it makes people not really want to let you take their photo. That's why I leave my flash at home. It's great for places where you know people are welcoming of you taking their photo, but not so much when you're on the street, you see somebody randomly and you want to approach them, they see you've got a giant camera with a big flash on it, and if you hold up a light disc to them, they're probably not gonna let you take their photo. If you're on a planned adventure with other people who know you're there to take photography and they know you're a professional, you're probably going to have a much better chance of it. That's a whole other conversation, but that's why I don't recommend taking a flash on this type of a tour. Also, in addition to that, you'll notice that the bags that I travel with for my camera gear are black. I don't like to stand out when I'm on the street. I want to blend in. I don't want people spotting me and avoiding me. I just want to look inconspicuous. So that's why I don't have bright bags that I carry my gear in. The last thing really that I want to talk to you about as far as camera gear goes is your tripod. There are plenty of trips where you'll go on that you don't need a tripod, and that is just fine. There is no reason to always take a tripod on your trips. I find a lot of photographers do it just because they feel like it makes them look like a photographer. Why? Who cares? Get the shot. I don't care how you get the shot. The types of tripods I like to travel with. I've got a little guy and a big guy. The little guy, frankly, goes with me a lot more often than I thought it would. Simply because it's lightweight, it's small, it does the job. In most cases, it's got this little hang hook on the bottom of it. So I've got all my camera gear in here and it weighs, 30 pounds or so. Even though it's a small, lightweight tripod, I can hang my bag on there and this sucker's not going anywhere, right? I've got it weighted down. This is all that I need. Plus, it packs up super small. I can even fit this thing inside of this bag if I need to, and nobody will know that I'm a photographer even, which is also nice. However, when I go to places where I know I'm going to be doing a lot of landscape or a lot of architecture or a lot of long exposure photography, I'll take the big guy because it's a little more solid, a lot more solid. It's taller. The main thing that I like about this one is, see, that one's all the way extended, and even when when I extend it all the way, I've got to duck down in order to look through the viewfinder to take my photos. With the big guy, I can put this all the way up at eye level, and I don't have to scooch down. So if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of landscape and long exposure, I'll take the bigger tripod. It's slightly heavier, not much, but for most cases, and specifically for like Morocco, where we're going to a lot of cultural places, we're doing a lot of walkthroughs of cities, Fez, Marrakesh, Chefchaouen, you really don't need a tripod. The place that you do need a tripod there is going to be in the desert, in Erg Dunes. So for that, yeah, you're going to need a tripod, one location for sure. If you want to do a lot of architecture, then maybe you want to bring a heavier, taller tripod. But for the most part, the smaller tripod as a regular traveler, that makes me happier because I don't have to carry something large and heavy all the time. Okay. That's it. That's all I really have to talk about as far as the photography gear. Try and travel light. You don't need to take all of your glass. If you were going on safari, take a big long super zoom. If you're going just on a lightweight tour where you're going to be doing culture and trying to do really editorial type stories where you're approaching people and talking to them, you want something small and inconspicuous. That's also another reason I keep this A6000 in my bag, because it's little. I mean, I approach somebody with this thing with a big lens on it, immediately they shy away from me. You want somebody to let you approach them and to strike up a conversation. This has to be something that's almost an afterthought. You just leave it there. Don't even talk about it. Don't pull it up until you've approached that person and they say, yeah, I'm willing to let you take my photo. And they're going to see that you're a photographer, but the more flamboyant you are about it, the less likely you are to get a yes to letting them take your photo and to getting a good photo in that moment. Okay, so that's all of my advice on what to bring and what not to bring as far as photography gear goes. You'll see that my photography gear is about the same, maybe a little less even than the bike gear that I bring with me. I'm not a gearhead. All I'm interested in really is getting a good photo, and you don't need a ton of gear to do that. You just need some basics. These are the basics. If you've got these, you're going to be in good shape. All right, if you've got any questions I didn't cover, leave me comments, send me an email. I will be happy to talk to you in person. I would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on, should I bring this, should I not bring that, or hey, Kevin, you forgot something, let me know. All right, be well.